Assalamualaikum. Good morning, student. Today we continue our discussion on Indonesian foreign policy in Reformation era. So this period start in 1999 because 1998 Reformation era and President Habibie in position only in transition. After that, elected the President Gus Dur in 2 years. After that, 3 years President Megawati Soekarno Putri. So like in old era that political dynamism after reformation also in unstable political situation. We will discuss this and what is the main idea of uh, the consistency of the principle. We will see and discuss this. Okay, I will share our topic discussion. This is our president after reformation. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Until today, there are 5 presidents. After the fall of Suharto, because of the Indonesian constitution, that if there is political accident or there is something happen with the president, so the vice president will replace the position of the president. So after the fall of President Suharto in May 1998, automatically by the constitution, the vice president Baharudin Yusuf Habibie inaugurate as a president. So the first president after reformation was President Baharudin Yusuf Habibie. May 1998 until October 1999. A very short term, yeah, because of the transition. After general election, our second president after reformation was President Abdurrahman Wahid. President Abdurrahman Wahid also in unstable political situation. So he was in the position only October 1999 until July 23rd, 2001, just 2 years. Yeah, because of the conflict with the House of Representatives and General Assembly. And then by the Constitution, Vice President Megawati Soekarno Putri replaced the position of President Gus Dur. Also, or until the full period of this presidency. So, because President Gus Dur 2 years, then President Megawati Soekarno Putri finished this period only in 3 years. And after President Megawati Soekarno Putri is a new mechanism in our presidential election, because President Gus Dur and President Megawati, although both were president after reformation, but the mechanism to elect the president is not directly from the people, but indirect system. President in President Gus Dur and Megawati, president and vice president chosen by the General Assembly. Since 2004, there is a new regulation, national law, that president and vice president as a couple chosen directly by the people. So this is a direct general election to choose presidency with the vice president. Nah, the couple, Presiden Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono and Vice President Yusuf Kala, elected in 2004. Presiden Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, or SBY, this is the popular name, SBY, Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, in his position for 2 periods, since the 2004 until 2009 and 2009 until 2014. After that, direct election for presidential position carried out in Pak Jokowi or Presiden Jokowi period. So Presiden Jokowi as the second president elected directly by the people from 2014 until 2019, and the second period 2019 until inshallah 2024. So this year really the first year for the President Jokowi to run his administration. So what happened for each president, we will discuss it. Firstly, we will discuss President Habibie. As I mentioned, that President Habibie was the vice president of President Suharto. And because of Indonesian Constitution, he assumed the presidency, or automatically to be a president. Yeah, President Habibie was a friend and close colleague for President Suharto. So when President Habibie as a transitional president, many were highly skeptical because he was a Suharto loyalist. President Habibie was an influential scientist. His specialist was in aircraft export. So this is very famous technocrat in the world because of his expert in aircraft engineering. And he was the founder of Dirgantara Indonesia factory, and until today to craft, to produce airplane in Indonesia until today. President Habibie has a special decision in foreign policy related to Timor-Leste. To create good relationship with all Western countries based on the international law, President Habibie very concerned to international law, maybe because of his education from Germany. So he was Western educated person, German graduated person. So very concerned on international law. He decided East Timor or Timor-Leste to carry out referendum leading to that country's independence. So it is very controversial, especially for veteran or the army in Indonesia, because in army point of view, it is part of disintegration. But under international law, this is one of the solution because of what I said last day as annexation. And annexation is illegal action for international law. So President Habibie, based on international law and the spirit of decolonialization, released Timor and Timor-Leste get their full independence in 2002. President Habibie failed to nominate president in 1999 because his accountability report was rejected by the People's Consultative Assembly, or MPR-RI. This rejection was entirely due to political reason, not objective. All of the General Assembly were close friends to the President Habibie. Amin Rais, leader of PKB, Gus Dur, Megawati. All these leaders were a friend of Habibie, including General Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono. But in terms of political dynamism at that time, all of Pak Habibie friend reject their political accountability. Why? Yeah, because of the close relation between Pak Habibie and President Soeharto history. Not because of the quality Pak Habibie. Objectively, Pak Habibie is high valuable person, high quality. But because of the political relation between the old regime, President Soeharto regime, and Habibie, so the political leader at that time skeptical about the President Habibie roles in the Reformation. And this rejection was, entirely political reason because of the relation between President Habibie and Suharto regime. So it is rather, not objective, absolutely not objective, but this is the real politics. Okay, you can see in this picture that because of the President Habibie decision, very monumental for Timor-Leste leader and people. So you can see here that Sanana Gusmao, as the first president in Timor-Leste, very close relation to the President Habibie. When President Habibie was sick in hospital, several times President Sanana Gusmao come to President Habibie to see to see as a friend, not political visit. And the name of President B.J. Habibie as one of the name of landmark. This is the big bridge in Dili, Timor-Leste. So it is very monumental building in Timor-Leste, named by Habibie name. So this is one of the evidence that President Habibie and the leaders and the people of Timor-Leste, they have close relation and very respect to President Habibie. This is one of the expression to love and respect to President Habibie from the people and the leader of Timor-Leste until today. After President Habibie and in October 1999, the first election after Reformation, done in 1999, May, and elected the new president in October. The name was Abdurrahman Wahid. He was a Muslim cleric, the president of Nahdlatul Ulama, Islami mass organization. Nahdlatul Ulama was founded or established by Gus Dur Abdurrahman Wahid. The nickname is Gus Dur. Nahdlatul Ulama was founded by Gus Dur or Abdurrahman Wahid grandfather. So yeah, it is historical. And the father of President Gus Dur was the first religion minister after Indonesian independence. So Gus Dur had a strong family relation and political dynamism in Indonesia since before independence and after independence. Gus Dur did not effectively cope with the separatist demands of Aceh. Yeah. In 1999, there is a proposal for referendum in Aceh and in Papua. And Gus Dur tried to create dialogue to Aceh and also Papua, but he failed to make agreement between Aceh and Jakarta, and after that still conflict. More than 2,000 victims in Aceh after Reformation era until 2005, when Helsinki Agreement done between the Republic of Indonesia and the revolutionary group of Gerakan Aceh Merdeka or Free Aceh Movement in 2005. Gus Dur failed to make a peaceful situation in Aceh at that time and tried to make a good good hope for Papuan people with change Irian to a new name, but this is the original name of the West Papua. Irian Jaya to be a new name. The name is the old name and the original name. That is Papua. Papua is the original name of Irian Jaya. Irian Jaya, a name given by President Sukarno. This is the acronym. Irian mean ikut Republik Indonesia and anti-Nederland. Irian ikut Republik Indonesia dan anti-Nederland. In English, Irian mean follow the Republic of Indonesia and anti-Nederland. This is Irian. That is why in referendum for Papua, President Sukarno and General Suharto at the time tried to make all of treatment and what effort to win the process of referendum in Papua at the time. So Irian is a political name because it was born from a political conflict between Papua, Netherlands, and Jakarta at that time, and the original name was Papua. And President Gus Dur gave the name for people and the land in Papua. Unfortunately, President Gus Dur face wild parliament. Why I say wild? Because after Reformation, the political characteristic of the parliament in Indonesia, both in the central government and also in regional government, very, very wild. It is easy to fall down the executive. Not only president, but also governor, mayor, or head of district. At that time, political tension among the political parties was very high. So it is easy to burn a conflict between the executive and legislative at that time. President Gus Dur made monumental decision, although in short time, and it is very, it is very important for Chinese person, because in President Gus Dur era, Chinese person get their full nationality, Indonesian nationality. And President Gus Dur was named as the father of Chinese in Indonesia. Bapak orang Cina di Indonesia was President Gus Dur. Why? Was President Gus Dur a Chinese? Oh no, but because of the decision. Because of the decision. Historically, the problem of Chinese person citizenship in Indonesia emerged when Chinese government and Chinese person support the G30 SPKI revolution. So this is the fact that Communist Party in Indonesia supported by the Chinese person. So President Suharto and Muslim leader at that time tried to protect and make a punishment for Chinese people that they don't have a full nationality or citizenship in Indonesia. So the floating status of citizenship, and they only recognized as temporary people in Indonesia, run for a long time, since President Suharto in 1966 until President Gus Dur in 2001. So President Gus Dur in Chinese point of view, he was a hero, because of this decision to recognize full citizenship for Chinese in Indonesia. Unfortunately, President Gus Dur was impeached in 2001 because of the political conflict with the House of Representatives and General Assembly, or the BRRI. Additionally, President Gus Dur was pro-democratic leader or movement. So in Suharto era, in President Suharto era, Gus Dur was the enemy of President Suharto regime. Because Suharto pro-Western democracy, multiculturalism, and try to recognize everyone to be Indonesian citizenship, as mentioned in our constitution. This position is the opposite of President Suharto. President Suharto didn't like liberal democracy. He tried to make our own democracy in just several political parties and control of press or media massa, mass media. So Gus Dur also well known as democratic or pro-democratic activist before Reformation 1998. Okay. President Gus Dur also introduce a new concept on foreign policy, yeah, although in short term. Under the brief presidency of Gus Dur, he ordered Professor Alwi Shihab as Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Alwi Shihab is a professor in theology in Canada University. And he stated that Indonesia would follow an ecumenical foreign policy with a strong trend toward globalism. Ecumenical is a Christian word. We can understand that why Indonesian foreign policy use this concept. Yeah, because the foreign policy, the foreign minister was an expert in theology, expert in theology. So he introduced ecumenical diplomacy. Yeah, foreign policy based on ecumenical diplomacy. What's the meaning of ecumenical here? Yeah, ecumenical mean try to see that all of the international actor, yeah, America, United States, Cuba at the time, and many leaders, although they have conflict each other, but under ecumenical point of view, yeah, under President Gus Dur presidency, will be unite together to make a productive relation. Yeah, although they have a conflict each other. So Jakarta at the time set out to be friend of everyone. Yeah, at least normatively, and play the role of unifier. So it is very very hard in political reality because to be unifier, you should be a strong and powerful to influence other country. But President Gus Dur, with multicultural character, try to play this diplomatic effort under the concept of ecumenical. That is why President Gus Dur, although only short term as a president, he had many foreign visits. Almost every month, he go abroad to create relation with international leader. So, yeah, under his concept of ecumenical diplomacy, how to be a unifier, to unite all element in international relation and actor. Gus Dur went to Cuba immediately after visiting the United States and open communication with Israel. Gus Dur also active make communication with Israel. It is very controversial in Indonesia. Yeah. As Islamic leader, Gus Dur tried to create a formal relation to Israel. Yeah, absolutely. Islamic organization reject this and very hard and sharp criticism to Gus Dur presidency. After Gus Dur left office, the concept of ecumenical foreign policy also went out of fashion or mode in Indonesian foreign policy. So because it is too idealistic concept, and the Indonesian foreign policy leader in bureaucracy in Department of Foreign Affairs, for example, see this concept is not applicable for the condition of the world at that time. Okay, after President Gus Dur impeached in 2001 by the Constitution, Megawati as a vice president inaugurate as president, replaced the position of Gus Dur. The political dynamism in Indonesia at that time is very, very conflictual among the political party. So you remember about our history before 1959, before President Decree or Decree President, our government up and down and every year change. Yeah. After Reformation era also, every 2 years our president change. So this is the reality. This is the reality. There is no special policy on foreign policy under President Megawati Soekarno Putri, and President Megawati was a president of PDIP, Indonesian Democratic Party for Struggle. PDIP, P mean perjuangan, PDIP, Partai Demokrasi Indonesia Perjuangan, Indonesian Democratic Party for Struggle. So why the name like this? Because to opposite the PDI under President Soeharto control. So President Megawati also a Soeharto enemy in before Reformation era. That is why between Megawati and Gus Dur was very close friend, very close friend. So both as president and vice president as a couple. Okay, there is no special policy under her presidency, and Indonesian foreign policy still in consolidation related to the domestic condition at the time. Until 2004, this is what I say as new mechanism in presidency general election. President Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono replaced Megawati position as a new president. General Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono is a top graduate of Indonesian Military Academy and also top graduate of U.S. Infantry Advanced Course and Command and the General Staff College. So this is a star general both in Indonesia and in United States. So he was also labeled as the think tank general. He has a strong relation with Reformation activists like Gus Dur, Megawati, and Amin Rais as Reformation leader at the time, because of the capacity of Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono as intellectual and military accord. So he is a very intellectual person. SBY, this is the popular name of Susilo Bambang Yudhoyono, SBY. SBY foreign policy has asserted that Indonesian foreign policy is based on thousands of friends, later a million, and zero enemies. Yeah, this is the spirit. All of the countries around the world are friends. Foreign Minister, Mr. Ambassador Marty Natalegawa has popularized the concept or the doctrine of the dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium. Yeah, unlike a more traditional adversarial balance of power concept, a dynamic equilibrium seeks to involve all the major relevant powers within a more cooperative framework as a basis for the development of an inclusive regional architecture. Yeah, Indonesia tried to understand new structure of international relations. This is rational. This is more, practicable, and this is more calculated action. So measurable, and also try to make new way from the other president before the President SBY. Yeah, because as intellectual, President SBY tried to make a new way in international relation under the spirit of independent and active. So there is something continue and change in Indonesian foreign policy. If we see what done by President SBY, there was a strong need of pragmatism and desire for a safe neighborhood in Indonesian foreign policy. So, yeah, the expectation that foreign policy initiative bring concrete benefit to the wider public beyond international prestige. So, based on pragmatism. President Suharto also pragmatism. So pragmatism, and this is one thing continue under President SBY. Pragmatism, economic calculation, measurable action. Yeah, this is what still continue. The dominant theme of the new order, if we compare with before this era, continue to color Indonesian regional and international outreach, though new themes have also emerged, such as the promotion of Indonesia's soft power asset as the world's third largest democracy and the largest majority Muslim nation. So President SBY tried to capitalize soft power, diplomacy with cultural effort, diplomacy with more humanitarian perspective. So new thing in President SBY was how Indonesia operate a soft power and more humanitarian perspective and culture. And Indonesia has in fact continued its concentric circle foreign policy approach. Yeah, you remember the circle? There are 3 circles. ASEAN, Pacific, and around the world, still continue. When the doctrine of President SBY was a new thing, but something still continue from President Suharto period. Indonesia still continue the concept of concentric circles in foreign policy, with much national time and energy devoted to the realization of the ASEAN community by 2015. Beyond ASEAN, priority has been given to relation with the ASEAN plus 3, China, Japan, and South Korea. Indonesia also initiated the East Asia Summit and more active in APEC. That is why Indonesian foreign policy under President SBY more active in ASEAN, more active in East Asia Summit, and more active in APEC conference and relation. Yeah, this is the East Asia Summit. Yeah. Exposing the concept of a dynamic equilibrium, this is a new thing, and inviting all the relevant great power to the East Asia Summit, where no one power dominates. Jakarta is indeed trying to be a champion of the foreign policy in the region. Yeah, this is the ambition. Under the concept of new dynamic equilibrium, President SBY tried to be a leader in Asia. Yeah, if not in Asia, in regional, in ASEAN. This is the obsession. And we can see in a positive side that Indonesia more active in a region, both in ASEAN and also East Asia and APEC. So, what are change between President Suharto foreign policy and SBY foreign policy? First, military personnel in Department of Foreign Affairs. You remember that President Suharto in the beginning of his presidency tried to militarize the foreign policy personnel. Yeah, to make cleansing, purifying from the Sukarno's supporter under the Department of Foreign Policy, because it is kind of double agent. Firstly for the President Sukarno, but secondly for the Communist Party. So President Suharto tried to cleansing this personnel, and that is why military entered the Department of Foreign Affairs at that time. And what happened in SBY? In the other challenges, the other situation, President SBY tried to make a professional diplomat and businessman to be to run Indonesian foreign policy. Diplomat career and also businessman. Why? Because Indonesia tried to expand their trade and how to get aid and investment for foreign countries. So the economical reason enter the consideration to fulfill a personal and diplomatic position. Secondly, President Suharto still in traditional mode of diplomacy. Yeah, traditional, formally, state to state, like this. But President SBY tried to play multi-track diplomacy. Yeah, more modern, more intellectual, more cultural, more complex relation. Not only state-to-state diplomacy, but also people-to-people diplomacy. Education, sport, and other effort to express our spirit of friendship to the other country. And the third, economic and military power. Economic, this is what? This is the character of old diplomacy, like stick and carrot. in your realism theory. Yeah, President Suharto absolutely a realism theory perspective. So economic and military power. President Suharto tried to increase his power under economy and military as the five general. Vice General in Indonesia historically only for 3%. Firstly, for General Sudirman in the independent era. Secondly, General Suharto. And the third, General Nasution. Only 5 general in Indonesia until today. And President SBY, not only economic military, but try to play soft power and promote Islamic moderate as asset for diplomacy. This is very strategic as a cultural strategy because Indonesia is the Muslim majority and also the biggest Muslim society in the world. Not Saudi Arabia, not Pakistan, not India, not other country, but Indonesia, the highest number of Muslim society. So President SBY tried to socialize to other countries that Indonesian Muslim is not like in Arab countries in Middle East. We can see that between Yemen and Saudi Arabia, Iraq and Iran, all countries are Muslim countries, but each other conflict and turn to war. Nah, President SBY tried to introduce that Indonesia is a moderate Muslim country. We reject terrorism. We reject extremism in Islamic view. So, yeah, the same, really the same between Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, and ASEAN countries because Indonesia, Malaysia, Brunei, Darussalam, all these countries in one Islamic thoughts or madhab. The name is Shafi'iyah or Imam Shafi'i under Imam Shafi'i madhab. So if you go to Indonesia, go to Malaysia, go to Brunei, we feel the same. We feel the same because of there is Islamic perspective as as a glue between us. So President SBY tried to announce, tried to endorse that Indonesia was moderate Islam, like Malaysia, like Brunei Darussalam. We reject terrorism, extremism, racism. Yeah, as Muslim moderate, we open to other countries. We open to all religion, race. You see in Indonesia today, day after day, we increase our religion, formal religion in Indonesia. After Muslim, Islam, Catholic, Protestant, Hindu, Buddhist, and now the newest is Konghucu. Konghucu as a formal religion in Indonesia. So we tolerate to other religion, open. You see Borobudur, you see Bali, inside the majority Muslim, they happy, they feel peace inside the Muslim country or society. Why? Yeah, because we are tolerate, we are moderate. We are moderate Muslim as an asset for our diplomacy. So we can make dialogue to United States, to Uni Soviet, Russia. I remember Uni Soviet because President Sukarno, before come to Moscow at that time, President Sukarno said to Voroshilov as a president at the time, that I want to go to Moscow if the grave of Imam Bukhari invented, because missing at that time. And after invented, first person come to the Imam Bukhari grave was President Sukarno. So until today, this is as a monumental. If you go to Azerbaijan, you see the monument of Imam Bukhari in Bukhara, near Samarkand. That is one of the evidence that President Sukarno relation between Indonesia and Moscow or Uni Soviet at that time. Okay, so very different style between President Suharto and President SBY. It is like old generation and young generation. Different style in different condition or different time. So that is the style of President SBY policy for 2 periods or 10 years presidency. So from 2004 until 2014. After that, President Joko Widodo replaced the position of the President SBY. What do you think about President Jokowi foreign policy? This is our next discussion. Okay, thank you for your attention, and time is up. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.